Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Community Preservation Committee meeting of December 13th, 2023. We are being recorded by LakeCAM tonight. I'll ask if anybody else is recording. That's a no. And we'll start by going around introducing ourselves and who we represent. Paula?
Oh, yes, Paula Hull, Park Commission.
Kathleen Barrick, member at large.
Nancy Yates, Conservation Commission.
John Lucy, I guess I'm the housing representative.
Susan Spieler, member at large.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the budget report. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them. I tried to call Todd today, but you can see that our match has come in. It was $46,812. So far this year, it looks like we've taken in 110. It is not cumulative. I'm gonna ask Todd next time to include, this only goes in this fiscal year, so what we've taken in and what we've put out, like the 65 we approved at town meeting. But it doesn't reflect what's left over from last year, as far as I can tell. So the next time I will get that information from Todd and see it on a monthly basis if we can get a rolling total so that we know what we have. But this is a regular report they would do, and probably don't do that normally. Add what's left over from last year. So I think in the future we'll ask if Todd can do that so we know what our real total is. Because this would just be from July 1st.
So what is our approximate bottom line right now? Is that the 171 figure I see here?
Yes. For this fiscal year. Okay, anybody else? Okay, next we have, the bill. From the coalition. $875.
I just would like to point out that although the coalition is good at lobbying, some of their technical advice is far from accurate. Michelle's email that went out asking a question to them about applications is entirely inaccurate. And so I will, I'm getting a written opinion from council to explain it, but the director often seems to, and this happened when we first were organizing the committee, express his opinion as a matter of fact.
Mark,
And that's,
if you just,
so-
I'm gonna just pass out what, this was the email. I don't think it went out. I think everybody got it, but I don't think it, went out with the packet.
So there's two particular things wrong with the email. One is that applications for land acquisition have to come through the Conservation Commission. And that secondly, it has to be owned and controlled by the commission. And neither the DOR rules, guidelines, which is basically what communities need to follow, as well as what's in their local plan, have either of those restrictions in there. In most communities, while it varies from community to community, how applications are submitted and how land acquisition projects are owned and managed by the community. So the one thing that it's not silent on is that there needs to be a conservation restriction on the property. That's one of the things that the DOR guidelines require, but who owns it or what entity in the municipality controls it is not specified, nor who can assist and or submit an application on behalf of somebody as well. So I'm just pointing that out. Some of the work the commission does is fine, but since you have a bill, and it's not a small bill in front of you, I just thought that you ought to know that, so.
So officially, they don't make the rules.
No, the Community Preservation Coalition does not make any rules. They are supposed to be an advocacy and a technical assistance organization. So they have one job, which is to manage one statute, one type of program. And so I'm just pointing out that there's some misinformation being supplied by them, or inaccurate misinformation.
What
So,
was Michelle's original question?
um,
Did you email him, do you know?
I only just took that part out because there was a bunch of pages going back and
Yeah.
forth. So the original question that I had asked to Mark, and I had called Michelle to discuss it with her, was the trust for, not the trust for public land, the Wildlands Trust was is doing step one. They're doing the information for step one, and they plan on helping the person who's selling the land do step two. And I didn't think that the Wildlands Trust should be doing step two because they're not the buyer. Who's asking us for the money? Wildlands Trust isn't asking us for the money. Who's gonna ask us for the money? And to me, it would be the Board of Selectmen because they're in charge of land purchasing down in Lakeville, as far as I know. And so that was my question originally. So I believe that she started off asking, trying to figure that out if it was the Board of Selectmen. And in the meantime, Mark looked up the rules from DOR and your chief executive board, I believe. And it's always been like that in Lakeville. And as far as conservation knows, I've been on there for 20 years, and I can tell you, for example, when we bought Betty's Neck, it's not under conservation. Not all conservation land in Lakeville is under the Conservation Commission because we don't have the ability to watch it. We don't have the staff to watch it. We don't have the people to watch it. That's why it was like a land trust to take it. So when we purchased Betty's Neck, that's under the Board of Selectmen, but it's also part of the APC. So that's how it gets watched, basically. But not all.
But aren't we talking about number 2, not number 3? We're talking about voting for the dues, not about all this other land purchase stuff.
Right.
So shouldn't we be voting on that and then discuss number 3? Because basically what you're talking about now is number 3.
All right, I think Mark was bringing up about paying for the dues, and actually, okay, if you're saying a point of order, okay, I would say on number 2, it would be my thought that because everybody's not here tonight, that I would like to put this on the next agenda, actually, when there's a full board here. Unless somebody,
I have a
John, sorry,
Maybe I can direct it to Mark.
okay.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about what you know about this. Third Sector New England Inc. is that's their legal name. That's who the bill is made out to.
Okay,
They just changed. I can answer that for a minute because they just changed over. I have the bill separate here because it came with a new W-2. So there was some kind of correspondence from the coalition that they're moving or they're under a new auspices. I don't think I really understand it. Maybe Mark does. But I do know that I can't use W-2 from last year that we paid the dues. I have to use a new W-2 because it's a new entity.
I assume they're a nonprofit.
I don't know what, I did not see the letter where they changed the name of
Do
the
you
organization.
know anything about, I mean, what kind of staff do they have? How many people?
So my understanding is they have a director and maybe 1 or 2 like support staff. And they're funded, excuse me, by the state and by collecting dues from everybody. So they are subject to government, related rules for public records requests and maintaining records, and because they're funded by by state and local, so. So that's part of what my point is whether you approve it or not. I just wanted you to be aware that, you know, I'm not very, happy with they have one job, which is to represent what the coalition, the Community Preservation Act, that's their job. And, and I've.
What is
I've
it,
just-
194 communities
Yes,
that
and
are part of this?
yeah,
or-
and they're supposed to give advice based on the act and the DOR regs and any other, cases, let's say, that might have gone through. And it's inaccurate, and I've also spoken to some CPC managers from larger communities where they have a planner who just does CPC management for a committee like this. And, they have, expressed the same frustration with, the coalition. So I just wanted you to be aware that, I'm not sure what the value to the community is when they're, to pay this. I understand they do try and lobby, and that's worth something, but, I'm just not sure moving forward.
I think part of the reason I'm questioning this is I've been reading some of their newsletters that they put out, and it seems like their primary focus, like big focus, is housing. And I'm not sure that's going to be the biggest issue
In Lakeville, yes.
because there's a lot of private money driving that, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this till the next meeting.
Okay. Right.
And I want to look into it a little more myself.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll go on there again.
Just as a point, I know this is fiscal 24 due, so this covers the period from July 1st, 2024, right? Yeah, so we've got a little time here to look at this a little
Okay.
more closely. Okay, thank you.
I had also looked into when we paid, the other one was in April
Yeah.
of this year. Because I had called to say, when did we pay the last one? It seems like we just paid one, so,
Yeah, this is for this current fiscal
right,
year.
so we do have a little bit of time. Okay, next, application, step 1 Elliott Way, discussion possible vote. So all the vote is tonight is whether this project is eligible.
Are they
So we-
seeking CPA money for the entire purchase of land? Well, we don't know that yet.
So, yeah, we don't know exactly what's gonna be purchased. The owner is gonna have the property surveyed, and then that's what will be proposed to the town to be purchased. So, but the owner has indicated that he wants to keep the house in 10 acres, because it's a 40-acre parcel, and sell that separately, and sell the 30 acres to the town. So, but the administration of the town says we need to see a survey, so we know exactly what's you're proposing to sell to the town. And then that needs to get appraised and go through the steps in the Wildlands Trust, because I can't necessarily represent and help an applicant when I'm here to help the committee. So we passed on the, I passed it on to Wildlands Trust, which is why they submitted this, because they're working now with the property owner to try and have the property acquired. They have a conservation easement on the abutting property owned by Joan Morton, and that's, so they have an interest in protecting these 30 acres as well.
Is this to acquire the property outright or just to acquire conservation easement?
It would be to acquire the property. So
But-
it does have a conservation restriction on it, so it's,
Already?
not a conservation, a
Covenant.
development restriction.
It's got a covenant on it.
So, the covenant limited, the development on the property to one single-family home, which is already there. So, so again, its value would have to be determined through an appraisal.
And that abuts, Figures, doesn't it?
That's correct.
So you could go through Figures that go all the way through,
Yes,
okay,
It's a
that's
skinny
one of
little
the,
piece that
Skinny,
touches
right.
Figures.
but it's accessible though.
Yes.
Okay.
So Wildlands Trust basically is helping them to do all those check mark things that we need for step 2.
So have they given us an application that we can look at? This is it?
Just step 1.
yeah, step one is just to determine whether this project, which is proposed to be a land acquisition, meets the is a fundable project. So one of the fundable projects is land acquisition, so
If you look on
It's-
page 8
it's a,
in our plan, it will say on the top, open space, land to protect, and it gives a whole list of things. And then on the left-hand side, it says acquire, obtain by gift, purchase, devise, grant, rental, purchase, lease, otherwise, and you follow the 2 lines down, it says yes. Page 8 in your plan,
This one here?
in your open space, in your,
So-
in the plan in the book,
So a positive vote on step 1
yes.
does not commit us to
No.
buy
No.
this property.
No.
And it gives us a chance to examine in a little more detail whether it's really worth buying.
yeah, it's really a,
Some future point.
it's kind of, in larger communities where you might get lots of applications and some complex and some people stretching whether it really is a qualifying project. A lot of them have these step 1 and step 2 applications, so they can kind of filter out the ones that are a bit of a stretch for qualifications. So this is kind of stating the obvious, that it's a land acquisition proposal. Land acquisition is one of the primary uses of CPC funds, so so, but they cannot, our local, plan requires you to do this step 1 process. You can't just go, oh, well, land acquisition's pretty obvious.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, because that kind of gives us a heads up of.
Yeah.
And
You
them
know,
a heads up
what's
before they
coming.
do all the work. You
Yeah,
don't want them to go and do all this
Yeah,
bunch of work
because,
that
I
they
mean,
have to do for step 2.
Myself, I'm gonna tell you, I've got a lot of
You what?
information I need before I go any further on
Mm-hmm.
this, but I don't see a problem with the step 1 approval
Right.
myself.
I guess the point too is it's not up to, our job as this commission is to look when step 2 comes in. And my question to Mark had been, and it seems like it's come back from town council, that the people that are gonna apply or ask for this money are the decision people, which is the chief executive board of the town, which is the board of selectmen. So I was questioning Wildlands Trust. I didn't think is the proper entity to come to us to ask, because they're not buying the land. They're looking for the town to buy the land, so whoever wants us to go through all the criteria and look at it and say, yes, we're gonna recommend this, is who's gonna buy it. If Wildlands Trust was gonna buy it, then they should be the entity that would ask for the money. But if it's a town that's gonna buy it, then it needs to be the Board of Selectmen, and they need to be in, or have some kind of a letter if Wildlands Trust is gonna do all of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if they received, they're planning on going to the select board at some point, once they have the survey and appraisal and the number. And so most likely Wildlands Trust will be assisting Glenn Crystallini in doing that, and at the select board. So if the select board say, let's say, we're okay with this, but you submit it and we'll give you a letter supporting it, then I think that would be fine for them to do that, but they would need the select board's
Approval.
approval to move forward, yes. If the select board don't want to approve it because they feel the number is too high, something's discovered, they don't like the way the layout of the 30 acres is, or some other thing that comes up between now and the time they go to the select board, I mean, it may not move forward, so.
So we're looking for the select board to say, if the funding's in place, whatever the funding is, that we will accept the property on behalf of the town, because that they have to as far as.
That's
I know.
correct, yeah.
But
So
And
we
then
don't have any
sub-
independent power to.
No, and again, subject to town meeting.
town meeting
Yeah, right.
approval.
I mean, would Audubon or anyone else,
Wanna buy it?
well, or help buy it?
It's up to them, isn't it? The
Well, why would they? Audubon, all these land trusts now, their newest thing is they don't buy isolated pieces here and there. The reason why Land Trust is interested in it is because it's contiguous with property they already have conservation restriction on. I had a heck of a time getting them up on Route 44 to do Bob Palucci's land at the old nursery property, but then it was contiguous with something else. So Audubon, they want property over near the Audubon Cedar Swamp.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're looking for, that they would pitch in to help with something like that. But because this is something that's already in the
So would
realm of what they
Wildlands then
have.
pitch in? Or
Pardon?
Would Wildlands pitch in or not? Or they don't do that?
They do the
No.
conservation restriction is what they're looking for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
they-
then they have a lot of people, they've grown quite a bit, and they have people that work on trails. So now, if they have the CR on it, and they're interested in that, then, and they have it on the other piece too, they have volunteers and stuff, they just finished a bunch of trail projects, so now they have interest in it, so they will come and help us work to get a trail system. That's what Scott was saying today when I was talking to him on the phone.
Mhm.
So, do we have a motion that?
I'll move to at least approve this, preliminary stuff. See where it goes.
That this is an eligible project.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so I guess we already discussed number 4 among, even though it's a little out of order, like Sue pointed out, but I think that we already discussed number 4. Okay, move on to the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, we have to do them one at a time though. All right, so
Starting with August 1.
starting with August 1st.
All right, so I have a few comments I'd like to make.
Okay,
I submitted the 3 minutes to Nancy as a courtesy to look them over, seeing that this was my first time doing the minutes. I received a response saying that she had a few questions and she would highlight them and send them back to me over the weekend, which I never got, so I reached out again. And said, you know, do you need me to make more edits or what? Because she thought there was missing content. So I went ahead and made a few more edits because I noticed that I had missed a few things, and she told me not to bother, that her and Kathy were reviewing them together and that they made all these edits to the minutes that I had done. So my question is first of all, if you had a problem with my minutes, you should have reached out to me and asked me for more content or call me instead of going to Kathy and have her do it. So Kathy helps you with these minutes. Who's paying her for that time? She's a town employee.
Okay, so number one, I went to Lillian first. I told you I thought they needed to be more extensive. You sent me back the other ones that were a little more extensive. So I went to Lillian, and Lillian had said, I think at the last meeting we had, when you said you were gonna be secretary, I believe that we said you should go to Lillian for an outline. But I guess you decided that Tracy's minutes look better.
I
That's
just
what you
looked at
told me,
her,
you told
I
me.
looked at her minutes as a template.
All right,
Yes,
but you didn't go to Lillian.
I did after the fact.
Yeah, you did after the fact, but that was after I went to Lillian, and she said, especially when you're talking about money, we're making a decision about approving money or making a recommendation to approve money at town meeting. And she told me as chairman that I should go over them and put some more stuff in about the money. So she said it would be helpful to work with Kathy. Kathy's been doing planning board minutes and zoning board of appeals minutes for how many years?
Long time.
A long time. So I sat down with Kathy and we went over them and we just added some stuff about the money.
Yeah.
Right,
and-
which
and-
I could have easily have done as well. So I
So-
feel like you went over my head and did that. And to me, that is I think it's condescending.
All right, well, I'm sorry if I was condescending, but, I'm the chairman, and Lillian told me as chairman that I should do them, and that you are brand new, and I thought, I'm not good at minutes either, but Kathy is, so I went to an expert. We did this for an example for you to show how they
I think you
should
could
be
have come to
done.
me and asked me, we could have worked together. You had no problem calling me about other stuff, but yet you don't call me about this. And I just find it unacceptable.
Well,
Can I
I'm
make a
sorry.
comment, Madam Chair?
Yes,
I work on other committees and there's a template, and I believe it comes from the town. And it outlines everything to help you. So if there's a question about what you're adding or whatever, if you get that template, it may be a guide, or you may like it better. I don't have an example here with
Well,
me.
Lillian didn't give me a template. And I just followed Tracy's, how she does it, the whole format and everything. So if more content was needed,
Yeah.
all you had to do was ask me for more content and I would have done it.
I did ask for more content.
No, you didn't. Then you turned around and said, don't bother. Kathy and I had taken care of it.
Well, that's after we already had taken care of it. And like I say, Lillian told me as chairman that that was what I should do, so I did it. From now on, now that you've seen how it should be done, we didn't even we only did the first two about the money. We
Right,
didn't touch
and
your
the
third set
second-
was fine.
And the second set that I sent to you again with more edits, you didn't put them into that. So that's all missing.
And
Which should have been
well,
added.
let's finish about Kathy. The planning board is our town support for this committee. So it doesn't make any difference about who's paying Kathy. The planning board is a town support for this committee, so I don't think it
Yeah,
has to do with,
She will not be regularly doing the minutes.
Right.
I mean, the whole point of me is asking her to do it was basically to provide an example.
Right,
Right,
but now
yeah.
is she charging
But
us
no, it's
$75
just-
to do it?
No, she's not, because it's part of her work.
So it was done
For
during
the
town
planning,
time.
as the planning department, we provide assistance to all these boards. But she is not regularly gonna be doing the minutes for this committee, because her job is primarily to do planning and zoning boards. We do this committee and open space, we assist them as needed, so, So she will not be regularly doing these. I mean, you can always call her if you say, oh, can you watch, minutes, that last meeting for 10 minutes, or I have a question about how I should word this. She's always available for that. But she is not gonna be redoing these again. It was really just,
Right, but it should have been, if that's how they felt, then they should have sat down with me and us do it together instead of them just doing it themselves and then, here we go, here you go, this is what we decided to do. I just think it was just not,
Well,
Very
I'm
smart.
sorry, and, well, I'm not really sorry, it's my prerogative, chairman, I needed to get it done. Don't have time to go back and forth, Kathy was there, we sit down and we did it and it was done. So, like I say, we shouldn't have to anymore in the future, it was just as an example, recognizing that you're new at taking the minutes, that's all.
right,
And
but
I
it's
think-
also a learning experience for me if you guys sat down with me and had me do it with you.
I didn't
Just
have
saying.
time to sit down with you and have it done. We don't have that kind of time. You work during the day. You don't have time to sit down. I went into Kathy and we did it and it's done and that's the end of it. So let's vote on the minutes. How's that? I have a motion on August 1st minutes.
I just made the motion to get it going. I wasn't there, so.
I make a motion to vote on the minutes for August 1st meeting.
To vote or to accept?
Accept.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not
Aye.
me, I'm not, because you're missing a whole bunch of stuff in one whole section, but you guys voted it through,
I'm
so it is what
abstaining
it is.
because I wasn't at that meeting, so.
Can I
was
ask
on
what's
the board,
missing?
so.
Or-
Yeah, go ahead.
What is missing?
Okay, under CPA budget year, budget report, CP 1 and 2, 3 filings,
What page?
page 1.
Okay.
Talking the first line, the year budget, showing 220,599 with, 215.55 delinquent payments and interest for a total of 226.77 was missing. And then all the expenses that came out of that money showing what the total was, none of that was listed. All it mentioned was the $1,100 for the minutes. So all of that should have been put in there and it wasn't. And I put that in on the second draft that I sent, and that was not used.
Can we amend this so that you can enter that?
Is there anything else on this one?
On the August 1
Nope, that was the only one I could say.
minutes? And
Okay, so say it again and we'll amend it.
All of it,
So showing the fund was 220 with 215 delinquent payments, interest,
for
And
a
it-
total of 226,077.17,
226.
077.17,
Yeah.
minus expenses of $1,100 for minutes, $180 for advertising, $49.99 for office supplies, and $875 for coalition dues.
Do you have that written down right there?
I do.
Well, so why don't you give it to me and then we can vote with the amendment.
Why don't we make a motion to accept the minutes with these
As amended.
changes? Yeah, so she doesn't have to read it all over again.
Okay,
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with these additions from Susan, our secretary.
no, treasurer, no,
Treasurer,
right, secretary, you're right.
secretary.
As amended.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sue?
Yep.
Okay. All right, next. August 15th.
Can I ask Sue if there's anything missing from these minutes?
Yeah.
Nope, those they didn't edit.
No changes?
Okay, motion.
Motion, we accept the minutes of August 15th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, I abstained because I was not
Okay.
a member at that point.
Can I ask Sue if there's anything missing from the October 17th minutes?
I don't think so, they didn't amend them, I mean, they amended them, but I didn't see anything, I think they were a little bit over the top, but that's just my opinion. So, I mean, they edited them, it is what it is.
No changes?
No.
Make a motion that we accept the October 17th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah. All right, so,
Can I make a comment on
Sure.
this issue?
yeah,
And it's only from my own experience. There's probably no more thankless and tedious job than being an unpaid minute taker on a committee, because I've done it many, many times. So I would hope that we would kind of work together and make it easier on the person that took that responsibility on, because it's a responsibility and it's a big pain in the neck, just from my experience. So that's just a general comment. I'm not talking about any personalities, just in general.
right, and I agree, and it's brand new to this committee. Last year, we had a professional person taking the minutes, so this is a brand new step forward. And I'm sorry, but as chairman, like I always say, I just wanna make sure we're following the rules. All right, so, review scheduling for next meeting. So our next meeting was for January 10th.
Is that a
What we
Thursday?
already decided upon, January 10th. Now that we're ahead of the 3-month period, remember, I can't schedule this room within 3-month period, and I couldn't from the last time, so I think we need to schedule some further meetings besides January 10th, which I'm trying to see if I can get January on here, December. So January 10th is a Wednesday, but we had already decided that.
Are there a number of people that can't make Wednesday, like Michelle and?
Right, like Michelle, so that I'm thinking we should schedule another one, but she agreed with January 10th when we were here, so
Okay,
I'm thinking that we should try to schedule another one for January 30th, which is on a Tuesday.
I can never make Tuesdays, so that's just a
Oh,
caveat.
okay, oh,
I
okay.
work every Tuesday night, so.
how about a Monday?
Well, I
So,
think Michelle can
you don't
only
want
do
me here, you can
Tuesday
schedule
and
it
Thursday.
on a
How's a
Tuesday.
Thursday for you?
Thursdays are always good for me.
Okay, so how about Thursday, February 1st? Or is that open space?
Yeah, I have a church committee meeting on that night.
The 1st of February?
And I'm
I
not sure
think-
whether,
I think on the first, so they're meeting this week, so that would be the second Thursday of the month. So the first Thursday, I think they've been meeting the second Thursday,
All
cause
right,
it's
so-
always an hour before the planning board meets, so.
So how about Thursday, January 25th?
I know I'm away, but, I might be able to make it on the 1st, if you wanna do it then.
Okay,
February 1st?
Yeah.
February
Yeah.
1st?
I can have
All
somebody
right,
else
because
go
we
in my
have to get
place.
ready for when we're gonna do our public hearing.
Yeah, so you
So-
should discuss whether there's any change, so everyone should look at the plan and decide whether there's any amendments or changes you think should be included in the plan based on the limited, a few applications we had, and whether, you think anything should be expanded or clarified, because then you could, you know, you don't have to make changes, you just have to hold the hearing and take public comment and then reapprove it for the next year.
Have you put what we approved at town meeting at that, on the CP?
Yeah, not yet, I will.
Okay, all right.
Mark, I have a question. The original plan that was presented, where did that come from?
It was worked on by the committee
The
every
committee, or
meeting.
was there a format or a rubric or something that
We
was?
had multiple examples from
the
lots of
coalition.
towns.
The coalition, yeah.
Yeah, they had like all the different towns, we
Yeah.
use
All right,
snippets
that's
from.
what I was getting.
Yeah.
So we
Yep.
tried to use examples from similar sized towns, because some towns will hire consultants and write really large
Okay.
plans.
I just wanted a little background, so thank you.
And Sue did most of the drafting.
Yeah, Sue did most of the work.
Yes.
All right, so probably I'd say on the January 10th meeting, we should set up when we're gonna have the public hearing. As long as we're 2 ahead, that's good. I can get the meeting room set up, and then we can decide when we're gonna have the public hearing. Because we really that's something we have to do, have a public hearing with input. And I can tell you from the last one, or from the survey that was sent out, senior housing was high on the list. Did you go to the Rhino
No.
Capital? No? Senior housing was high on
I
the
had
list.
to work.
Anyhow. All right, so are we good? Anybody have anything else? No? All right, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.